growing weary of running from room to room, practicing one-tooth insurance-driven dentistry? Then stay tuned for the latest episode of The Lionhearted, where Dr. Stephen Rasner will hand you the blueprint for what many call the gold standard of general practice dentistry.
Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Steve Rasner. You're listening to The Lionhearted Dentist, where I try every week to influence all of you. Those of you that are in D3 or D4 dental school level. Those of you that just got out last May and are probably going through a multitude of associateships right now. And some of you, I'm sure, are experiencing good things in the beginning and some of you not so good. Maybe you're at a public health requirement that you're fulfilling as part of your education. Some of you have started a new practice, and maybe some of you have been in practice for a long time, and you've hit the wall. And I'm just a colleague of yours that's had a great deal of success through hard work, and has found a level of dentistry even in 2020. This level I've had, fortunately, has been around for many years. But even in the toxic environment of not just 2020, but the last 10 years of dentistry, where every year it seems that we have another hornet's nest, so to speak, to deal with. And of course, this year culminated with probably the greatest challenge most of us have ever seen, and that's literally being shut down through a pandemic. And I'm a colleague that thinks he can break it down rather simply for you to absorb whatever part of my blueprint you want. You don't have to emulate everything I do. But even if you borrowed some of it, I assure you it's going to save you years and time and bring you to a place that you're going to appreciate. So let me be clear. No matter what country you're in, no matter what state here in the United States you're listening from, this success I speak about is not unique to me. Indeed, it's not. And when I say success, I certainly am not just referring to an income. I'm referring to how you feel Sunday night, Monday morning when you go into work. I'm talking about how you feel at the end of your work week or the end of each work day. Is it doing it for you? Are you happy? I mean this. And there's so many components to that formula that I try very hard to touch on the ones I think are most relevant to your success. And that's why I keep coming back to some of them. And as you know, last week we were talking about you preparing for 2021, something I'd done for years and years. And those of you that didn't listen to last week's podcast, go back and listen to it. Fast forward if you went through it. And understand that not just in dentistry, but any profession, those of us that set goals or have some kind of direction, step back and look over the year that just passed. What did we like about it? What didn't we like? I mean, come on. This isn't rocket science that I'm speaking about right now. It's common sense. If you've had a string of years that have resulted in horizontal non-growth of your practice, then it's the time to really evaluate what the heck's going on and make changes, or you're going to have another repeat in 2021. And that's something I've done for years and something I haven't talked about much on this podcast, and something I'm trying to get you to do, as one of my cats comes into the screen right now if you're watching this. So let me recap. Last week, I talked about things that I personally was working on. Documentation in my office, That doesn't bring me any more profit, by the way. So clearly, this is not just about money. I know I go off on tangents, but really, it's hard to talk about what is enough income for somebody unless you're willing to speak equally about how you're living. There's no doubt there's dentists in our profession that get out of dental school and go down that road of a new car, a new house, maybe a second house, all on credit before they should. And that is a road that is dangerous to go down. I assure you, you have colleagues netting close to $1 million that are in much worse shape than some of you listening that are netting half of that. That's absolutely positively a possible scenario. So it's not just what you produce and gross, or at the end of the line, what you're left with, what you net. It's how you're living your life. And come on, man, we do very well, but you can't do anything you want as a dentist and live life on your own terms. In many of my presentations, particularly my presentations to the new dental graduate, I make it very clear that I would encourage you to rein it in. And I know that's hard because, come on, you just graduated dental school. Before that, you graduated college. You've never been in a serious income producing situation. So yeah, I get it, that it takes great discipline to hone it in for the first 5 or 10 years. But I will tell you, you will never regret it. I didn't do that. I did not do that. I didn't go out and buy 2 homes and, $100,000 cars, but I did not rein it in. And what you will find if you don't pay attention to this is you'll be working to pay bills. And it's really hard to put together the Lionhearted dental practice if there's a debt that you have to pay. Because you can't come up for air to think about if you're really doing it right. I hope that somehow translates. It wasn't my intention early in this podcast. But I was talking about, I know why I said that, because one of my goals, certainly in this stage of my career, and for a while now, has been to, from top to bottom, including my documentation on my patients, to be able to go back, or anybody to go back, and read with clarity what we did, what the patient's input was, all those type of situations. And I left it off with thinking about what you wanted different for 2021. Let me ask you a question. Some of you, I know for a fact, are still making your own provisional crowns. So either you have not taken the time to either teach your dental assistant or send your dental assistant to a place where they can be taught high-level, indirect provisional restorations. That is a game changer. So do you get me right now? Somebody might be listening, it's their first or second year out. And maybe you think you can't justify sending one of your dental assistants, for example, to Bill Strupp and Mike Brum down in Clearwater, Florida, where they have a program. They don't, but their dental assistants have a program. It's one day that they can uplift the skill level of those dental assistants in your office making provisionals. Now, I have a master dental assistant in my office that could teach that course herself and has taught that course. But I want you to think about it for a minute. When I'm doing a case of 5 through 12, I can take all the time in the world, remove decay, to get beautiful strut core buildups of my teeth, to refine the preparations to whatever preparation design I'm looking for. I am never, ever pressed for time when I'm doing that. You know why? Because my dental assistant's making the temporaries, not me. And that's been going on for so long that I wouldn't dream of doing a temporary crown because I can't do it as good as they can. So just what I just said to you, for some of you listening, would be a major breakthrough in 2021 because you're going to be in another room producing dentistry on another patient, well, there is dentistry being produced in the other room by your dental assistant from the point of view that she's making provisional crowns. Now, I am a staunch advocate that if somebody else is going to do something I used to do, then they need to do it as well or better than I did. And so I'm sure many of you can relate to that. And that can happen with a dental assistant. So any of you that are presently still doing your own provisional crowns, that by itself is a major breakthrough. Just that. And I can't help but except when I tell you that, what comes to my mind is the fact that some of you that have been practicing now for a few years are probably getting tired of doing routine, direct restorative work, filling. And granted, your schedule has to be busy enough to warrant you having a dental assistant that can do provisionals. But I pretty much think that would happen almost in any office that'll be listening to me right now. That you could keep yourself busy while somebody else is doing beautiful provisionals with great marginal integrity, realistic anatomy, things that get laborious for us dentists when we're running the whole show. And likewise, I think many of you would have a total different outlook on what you do each week if you weren't bogged down doing fillings and crown and bridge. I still like doing crown and bridge. But when you have to do everything, that's what I meant when I asked you to step back and look. Even if you're in your first or second year of practicing, what is it that makes you happy? Because in the beginning, we all do all the procedures because we think we should. Maybe we should. I don't know the answer to that. I don't know too many dentists that have the courage to be that selective their first or second year out. But for example, maybe working on children that's an easy one that I can relate to when I was a young dentist. I mean, I love children, but I don't like doing dentistry on them. So that's an easy one for most of us to eliminate. Maybe you have a disdain for full dentures. That said, then I would sleep back and say, okay, if I'm going to do that, what skills could I add to my present repertoire of skills to make 2021 more interesting, be more profitable? There are many arenas that are open to you. Maybe you want to learn more about sleep apnea. That's not my thing. Maybe ortho. Certainly one that resonates with almost all of us that would come before either one of those, to me, would be some level of endodontic treatment. I think that's a absolute must for most GPs, because if you refer everything out, certainly most of us can master to some degree of success anterior endo, if nothing else. And are you doing those procedures? Have you invested significantly to be trained in such procedures? And then, I can't help but come back to, and that would be to attain, the oral sedation permit that you hear me talk about. But do you have that yet? Some of you may be sitting there, wow, is he going to talk about the sedation thing again? It's because so few of you pursue it. It's unbelievable to me. And when I say rippling effect, I guess if you become proficient in the treatment of patients with sleep apnea, yes, can you market that? You can market it, but I don't think it makes your phone blow up because it's a very select group. And by the way, they're not coming to you first. They're going to go through the channels. They're going to go to the hospital or today at-home sleep study avenue first. So no, I feel confident telling you that's not going to blow your phone up in 2021. And certainly orthodontics is not going to do that because not everybody wants to do ortho. Root canal, I'm pretty much sure, is a staple of some type of level for all general practices, which I said I would train in some level of advanced endodontic training. But a sedation permit is a game changer. It's a game changer for the obvious reason that people will seek you out if they believe in you. First of all, you can advertise the hell out of it. It's a great branding mechanism for any practice that you provide sleep dentistry or whatever you're allowed to say in your state. We're not even allowed to say that, by the way, in the state of New Jersey in the United States. So we have to walk around that all the time. But it is what they're doing. With my cocktail and my protocol, they are absolutely sleeping. I gave a course 2 weeks ago with 20 plus patients, 25 plus patients over 2 days. And every single one of them was properly sedated on the protocol that I give. And they were having full mouth extractions or complicated extractions. Even if you didn't do that, which I think you should, but even if you didn't, it would be a game changer for you. It's right in front of you. I don't really get it. And so that would be something I would be thinking about right now. Not just think about it. Go into your office on Monday, and if you don't have the time, have one of your staff members write, because you can't even call out of these places right now with the pandemic, but find out what the requirements are or Google it in your particular state. They vary. Not one of you. I've never had one student, one doctor come back to me and say, that was a waste of my time. Listen, let's be candid with each other right now. What we do, even in the best of circumstances, a decent patient, a cooperative patient, what you and I do is tough. That's why I only do it 4 days a week. It's difficult what we chose. It's rewarding, but it's difficult. And sedation makes it a little less difficult. I'm telling you, I don't know what it's like to hear a patient ooh and ah when we're giving anesthetic, because their level of tolerance is so much higher. Yes, there's some patients where that remains a little bit of an issue. But I'm talking to you, I had a patient in a chair on Thursday, this past couple days ago. And her big fear, you're going to attract all kinds of avenues of patients that haven't had care if you brand sedation for your practice. And this patient was a gagger. We literally could barely touch inside her mouth with a mirror, let alone take an impression without her being sedated. When she was sedated, completely different patient. So it's not just fear of dentistry, it's gagging. I've used it extensively on multiple sclerosis patients or on patients with Parkinson's disease that had radical movement if they weren't sedated. It's an absolute game changer. And I've had too many podcasts on it already. I'm not going to say anymore because my intention for this podcast was look at that if you have that. I would definitely do that before you add on sleep apnea, ortho, anything. You're going to thank me if you do that. And then, talked about it pretty much on almost every podcast for the last couple months. Taking teeth out atraumatically, meaning, and I heard surgeons or even dentists say to me, that's an oxymoron. No, it's not. It's not an oxymoron. Take a tooth out, bust the buccal bone off when you take it out because you're using too much torque and force with a forceps. That's a traumatic extraction. Take a tooth out that elevates out of the socket where you preserve all 5 walls of bone. That's an atraumatic extraction. Take any tooth out in 15 minutes, even a hard one. I mean that, a hard one. That's an atraumatic extraction. Not keeping the patient in a chair for an hour with you sweating profusely and being upset and the patient sensing it. And by the way, I would never recommend you do those procedures without them being sedated. It's just not, to me, it's not standard of care. So, I think what you need to do is look at these things as we go. Right now is the time to look at them. Right now is the time to sign up for them. It is. And what would a better office or career feel like to you as you go into 2021? How about your support team? I'm meaning your staff. Do you have the staff you really want? I bet some of you have that employee. Did you hear me? I bet some of you have that employee, meaning the employee that doesn't belong. They're probably very, very good at what they do, no matter what it is in the office. Maybe you inherited them from the practice you bought, and you were scared to let them go because everybody from the former practice counted on them or knew this particular staff member. And maybe it's a dental assistant, maybe it's a hygienist. But you know, and I know, they never bought into you. There's a palpable tension somewhere when you're dealing with this employee. But you just let it go because it's easier not to deal with it than to deal with it. I'm not trying to make you mad. I'm trying to share with you personal experiences I've had. Exactly that employee. Sometimes it took years to get rid of them, but I got rid of them. I've had 3 to 4 in my 40-year career that stayed about 3 years too long. How did I know, and how would you know? I'll tell you how you know. Next time you face this employee, maybe it'll be Monday, if they have the ability to change you physiologically, they speed up your heartbeat, they create angst inside you. People say nobody else can impact you without your consent. Eleanor Roosevelt said that. That's not true. That's a very deep way of thinking, but the reality of it is you and I are in a business, and on Monday, if we see somebody that just, who is this person? This person often doesn't go with the flow. They don't accept new ideas. They run hot and cold. They speak down to staff members. Sometimes they'll speak down to you. They may be a great hard worker, by the way, and they may never miss. And they may be, as I said, very good at what they do. At least you think they're very good at what they do. But if they cause you personal angst, just because I'm sure there's valid reasons, then that's another 2021 consideration as much as the others. Absolutely is. It is liberating. You may not get somebody as good as them in the beginning, but whether it's a dental assistant, a hygienist, it could be any of those. It could be in the insurance department of your office. And somehow over the years of their career, they acquired this "you can't replace me" attitude. And they act that way. They speak that way to other people. There's always a couple times a year where there's a confrontation that you have to put the fire out and have to explain away the situation, which, by the way, you're losing respect of everybody else every time you do that. So I would tell you this may be the year you need to terminate and have the courage to terminate such an employee. These are the things I'd be looking at right now. Because if you don't do it, and I'll leave you with one more. Before you come up for air, it's going to be March or April of the next year. And another year is going to be going into the book. This is important stuff, guys. This last 2 podcasts of getting your head centered around preparation, goal setting, thinking what is it you like and don't like about your practice and that you'd like to make better. Everybody would want to work a little less and be more profitable. Well, that's an easy one. Stop taking some insurances. Easy for me to say, right? No, it's not. Because I have to work really hard to create that atmosphere within my physical plant so that when patients come in that front door or call the office before they come in that door, that it is palpably different to them. And then the whole process coming through, having the work done, whether it's me or an associate, the follow-up care we give, the appointments that are given, the financial arrangements that are made and approved and executed in the office. Everything matters when you have that kind of office, when you aspire to a fee-for-service office. But if you stop and think just this, that many of you are literally discounting 30 to 40% plus of the service you should provide each day, it's just not fair. It's not fair for you to accept it. It's not fair to your staff and your family, in my opinion, to just continue to go that direction, because it's harder to establish the practice, the Lionhearted dental practice that you hear me speak of. Folks, I said it early in the podcast, this isn't unique to me, what I have. You can have what I have. It takes not even a lot of money. It takes courage, hard work, and never give up kind of attitude. I'll go back next week to case presentation and other skills that we need to talk about, or whatever pops up in my world that I think is relevant to your success. But I do appreciate you tuning in each week, and I am fully confident, absolutely flat out confident, that if you are listening and following this, you also will have the practice that I speak about. And at the end of the day, being happy is everything. So thanks for tuning in. Stay strong. See you next week on the Lionhearted Dentist.